All night, the patriots of Russia were itching and fidgeting. They were waiting for the Kremlin's leader to finally jingle his balls, still ones. And despite Trump's stern warning for Putin to bomb another hospital, or at least a residential area, because after Donny grumbled about being unhappy with the bombing of Kyiv, a major missile strike by the Russians, it would, of course, have been a declaration of the full independence of the Russian Federation, but also a demonstration of the leaders' courage. The leaders. But Putin did not dare to disobey Trump, and this cast a certain gloom over bloodthirsty Russia. And Peskov's statement about the readiness to abandon the former brazen preconditions became a poisonous thorn that pierced the hearts of millions of Russian cannibals. Literally, look, I have it. In Peskov's Telegram channel, he sadly mentioned himself that Putin is ready for negotiations with Ukraine without preconditions. And of course, the second tragedy for Russia was the Roman funeral of Pope Francis. And this funeral assigned Putin the saddest role of a cuckold. Yes, a cuckold. Well, it's clear that Putin is bitter. He reeks of the stench of war. And a fashionable cap, the 1937 style, also doesn't adorn the Kremlin ghoul. So what is called a club, but the cool international dances of the Russian Führer are simply not allowed. Well, because of the smell, the cap, and everything else. He is left with such a pathetic role of a cuckold, peeking through a crack to watch as his girl, his Trump, dances and gropes with Zelensky. Of course, this completely threw Putin off balance. The spectacle, well, and Trump freshly groped by Zelensky. He immediately faltered and added that he doesn't understand at all why Putin started the foolish bombings. Trump said that Putin had no reasons to fire missiles in the last few days. And that, in general, it seems one needs to talk to him differently. Take a look at my Telegram channel. Of course, what cannot be taken away from Trump, no matter how skeptical or negative one's attitude, is his great acting ability. Look at how he enters the cathedral for the memorial service. As they say, he stepped into the gathering, everyone jumped up, and even the coffin with the Pope shrank and faded, realizing that it was far from being the central figure of this event. But the second dictator, Lukashenko, of course, like Putin, got scared and did not go to the funeral. And to represent Belarus went a completely colorless delegation that tried just in case not to catch the eye of the carabinieri, and even spoke Czech. If it weren't for the buckets full of potatoes in the hands of this delegation, no one would have guessed which country they represented. It was a flock of frightened officials. Well, and Russia was personified there by some sort of Arwen. Arwen was represented by some hefty woman in the position of Minister of Culture. However, she was smart enough to immediately blend into the crowd of Palestinian refugees and not stand out at all. And of course, Putin was shouting in pain when it turned out that the Vatican gave Zelensky a completely prime spot. According to the rules, they should be seated alphabetically. He should have been somewhere in the second or third row, but he was seated in the first row. I think that Putin at the same time might direct an operation on the Vatican and drop in a squad of Yakut homeless people who would attack some cardinal, make a mess everywhere, and break the Vatican's famous large porphyry bowl, mistaking it for a toilet.